I'm Clara Foster, 28, a lawyer working in Midtown Manhattan. My family was gathered at a fancy Italian restaurant on the Upper East Side. I sat in silence, every bite of pasta tasteless as it passed through my mouth. Everyone else laughed and chatted, but I knew this dinner would end like every other one, with me feeling small, compared, dismissed. Then my father, as if he couldn't stand the quiet any longer, spoke. Clara, you'll never measure up to Victoria. It hit me like a punch to the chest. All eyes turned toward me, every forced smile evaporating in an instant. I didn't flinch. I smiled coldly, pulled out my phone, and opened my banking app. Ready to see the truth, Mom and Dad? My voice was calm, but sharp as a knife. My mother went pale, stammering, Clara, what? What are you saying? I tilted the screen toward them. The number glared back, 67 Saturn 200. This is how much I've paid over the past 2 years to keep this family afloat. Rent, utilities, and all of Victoria's so-called emergencies, all from my account. Victoria's eyes widened, hands trembling. My father went silent. My mother looked at me, speechless. You've always said I had too much free time, I continued, cold but steady. Well, now you can see exactly how much of my freedom I've spent supporting this household. I stood, pulled two 20s from my wallet, and placed them on the table. This is my share for dinner. From now on, you handle your own. I walked out of the restaurant into the Manhattan night, breathing deeply. For the first time in 2 years, I felt free. But I knew the fight was far from over. Families like mine never let their favorite ATM leave without resistance. The silence I left behind in that restaurant was deafening, but I knew it wouldn't last. It started 2 years ago, the same week my father, Robert Foster, lost his job at a pharmaceutical company due to corporate restructuring. My mother, Linda, had never worked, and Victoria, my 32-year-old sister, had been freelancing for as long as I could remember, which was code for doing nothing while looking busy on social media. I'd just started at Morrison & Chase, one of Manhattan's top corporate law firms. My first paycheck, $4,200 after taxes. I was 26, living in a tiny studio in Hell's Kitchen, eating ramen most nights to save money for student loans. Then the call came. Clara, sweetheart. Dad's voice was heavy, defeated. We're in trouble. The landlord's threatening eviction. We need help. Just temporarily. 6 months, tops. Just until I find something new. I stared at my bank account. $1,847 in savings. My rent was $1,200. I had $340 in checking after paying bills. But they were my family. So I said yes. 6 months became 12. 12 became 24. I paid $2,800 monthly for their rent in Queens, more than double what I paid for my own place. Then came utilities. Then Victoria's emergencies. A broken laptop, $1,200, urgent dental work, $2,400, car repairs, $950. Every time I hesitated, Mom would sigh. Family takes care of family, Clara. You're so lucky you don't have children. You can't possibly understand real stress. Dad would add, your sister's trying her best. Not everyone can handle the corporate world like you. Some people are more sensitive. And I swallowed it. Every guilt trip, every comparison, every casual insult disguised as concern, until tonight. Because 3 days ago, I discovered something that made my blood run cold. I'd received an email from my landlord in Queens. Urgent. Rent payment overdue. Account, Clara Foster. The $2,800 I'd transferred on May 28th had been reversed. Not by the bank. By someone with access to my linked accounts. Victoria. I'd given her my card information once. Just for an emergency, Clara, I swear I'll pay you back. And she'd kept it. When I called her, she answered breezily, oh, that. Yeah, I needed it for something. For what? A Gucci bag. It was 40% off. I couldn't pass it up. She'd stolen $2,800 from my rent payment to buy a purse. That's when I knew. This wasn't love. This was exploitation. So tonight, when Dad said those words, "You'll never measure up to Victoria," something inside me crystallized into pure, cold clarity. I was done. As I walked down Fifth Avenue, my phone started buzzing. Text after text. Mom. Clara, please come back. We can talk about this. Victoria. You're overreacting. It was just a joke. Dad. This is extremely disrespectful. We need to discuss this like adults. I blocked all 3 numbers. Then I went home, opened my laptop, and spent the next 4 hours systematically dismantling every financial connection I had to them. Removed Victoria from every linked account. Canceled all automatic transfers. Changed every password. Froze my credit at all 3 bureaus. Removed my name from their lease agreement. Each click felt like pulling a splinter from my skin, painful but necessary. By midnight, I was done. I poured myself a glass of wine, the cheap kind, because I'd been too broke to afford good wine for 2 years, and sat by my window looking out at the Manhattan skyline. My phone buzzed one more time. An unknown number. This is your father. Using a colleague's phone since you blocked me. What you did tonight was unforgivable. We're your family. You owe us. I stared at that message for a long moment. Then I typed, I don't owe you anything anymore. And if you contact me again, I'll send the entire extended family the spreadsheet showing exactly where my money went, including Victoria's Instagram posts of luxury purchases on the same days you claimed emergencies. I hit send, blocked that number too, and turned off my phone. For the first time in 730 days, I went to bed without checking my bank balance obsessively, without calculating how much I had left after paying everyone else's bills. I slept for 10 hours straight. When I woke up the next morning, the war had officially begun. The first attack came at 2:14 a.m., 3 days after the restaurant incident. My phone, which I'd reluctantly turned back on for work, exploded with a call from Mom. I let it ring. Then came a text. Emergency. Your father is in the hospital. Heart palpitations. Call immediately. My stomach dropped. Despite everything, he was still my father. I called back. Mom answered on the first ring, her voice trembling. Clara, thank God. He's at Mount Sinai. They need $200 for the ER copay, or they won't treat him. Something in her voice felt off, too rehearsed, too calculated. Which Mount Sinai? I asked carefully. There are several. The main one, on Fifth Avenue. Mom, there's no Mount Sinai on Fifth Avenue. The main campus is on Madison. Silence. Mom? Well, maybe I'm confused. I'm very stressed. What room number is he in? They haven't assigned one yet. I hung up and immediately called Mount Sinai's main line. Hi, I'm checking on a patient, Robert Foster. Was he admitted tonight? The operator checked. I'm sorry, we have no patient by that name in our system. My hands started shaking, not from fear but from rage. They were lying. Faking a medical emergency to manipulate me into sending money. I called Mom back. He's not there. Clara, I can explain. Don't. Just don't. I hung up. But the attacks didn't stop. Day 4. Victoria texted from a new number. Clara, I'm so sorry about the bag. I was stupid. But now they're really going to evict us. Can you just help one more time? I promise I'll get a real job. I didn't respond. Day 5. Dad left a voicemail. Clara, this is your father. I'm very disappointed in you. Family doesn't abandon family. Your grandmother would be ashamed. My grandmother had been dead for 6 years. Day 7. Aunt Rachel, Mom's sister, called. Clara, honey, I heard what happened. I know you're upset, But you can't just leave your parents homeless. That's cruel. Aunt Rachel, did they tell you Victoria stole $12,800 from my rent payment to buy a Gucci bag? Pause. Well, no. Did they tell you I've paid $67,200 over 2 years while working 60-hour weeks? Longer pause. I didn't know the specifics. Then maybe get the specifics before calling me cruel. I hung up. Day 10. The nuclear option. I got an alert from Credit Karma. New credit inquiry. Chase Sapphire Reserve Card. My blood went cold. I hadn't applied for any credit. I called Chase. After verification, the representative confirmed, "Yes, ma'am, the application was submitted using your social security number. The email address listed is v.foster.official@gmail.com." Victoria's email. She'd tried to open a credit card in my name. Identity fraud. A felony. I felt something inside me go completely, utterly cold. I immediately filed a fraud report with all 3 credit bureaus, reported the identity theft to the FTC, contacted my lawyer from work, called the police. The officer who took my report asked the question I knew was coming. "Ma'am, this is your sister. Are you sure you want to press charges? If she'd done this to a stranger, would you ask me that?" He paused. "No, ma'am." "Then treat it like what it is. A crime." Within 2 hours, Victoria called, hysterical. "Clara, the police called me. They said I could be arrested. What did you do?" "What did I do?" My voice was ice. "I reported a crime." "What did you do, Victoria?" I was desperate. "You cut us off. So you committed identity fraud?" I thought you'd never find out. I just needed a small line of credit. To buy what? More designer bags? More brunches? More Instagram-worthy experiences while I eat ramen? She was crying now. "Please, Clara, drop the charges. I'll do anything." "Get a job, Victoria. A real one. That's what you'll do." I hung up. That night, the group text attack began. Extended family I hadn't heard from in years suddenly had opinions. Uncle Tom. "Clara, I'm very disappointed. Family sticks together." Cousin Michelle. "This is so unlike you. What happened to the sweet girl we knew?" Aunt Deborah. "Your parents sacrificed everything for you girls. This is how you repay them?" I read every message, feeling the familiar guilt trying to claw its way back in. Then I did something I'd never done before. I opened a group text to the entire extended family, all 23 of them, and attached a PDF file. The subject line read, "The full story." The PDF contained 24 months of bank statements showing every $2,800 transfer, screenshots of Victoria's Instagram, designer bags, luxury vacations, VIP tables, the police report for identity fraud, text message screenshots of every emergency that turned out to be fake, a timeline showing dates. Victoria posted luxury purchases matching dates of her emergency requests. I wrote one sentence. "Before you judge me, see what I've been living with." I hit send before I could second-guess myself. For 3 minutes, there was silence. Then my phone started buzzing. Cousin Maya. "Oh my God, Clara, I had no idea." Aunt Deborah. "I'm so sorry. We shouldn't have assumed." Uncle Tom. "Clara, I owe you an apology." Even Aunt Rachel, who'd called me cruel, sent, "I'm sorry, honey. I didn't know." But nothing from my parents. Nothing from Victoria. That silence spoke louder than any apology could. That night, I poured myself another glass of cheap wine, sat by my window, and allowed myself to feel something I hadn't felt in 2 years. Vindication. Not because I'd hurt them, but because I'd finally told the truth. And the truth, for once, had set me free. The documentary evidence I'd sent detonated like a bomb in the family group chat. For the first time in my life, people actually listened. But my immediate family? They went silent. Radio silence for 72 hours. Then the counterattack began, not with apologies, but with strategy. Week 2. The final chance meeting. I received a formal email from Dad, typed, formatted, with an agenda attached like we were scheduling a board meeting. Subject: Family Financial Restructuring Discussion. Clara, we request your presence at a family meeting this Sunday, 2 p.m., to discuss a sustainable path forward. We've prepared a comprehensive plan that addresses everyone's concerns. Attendance is non-negotiable. Dad. Attached was an actual agenda. Review of family financial situation. Proposed 90-day bridge plan. Individual responsibility assignments. Path to reconciliation. I stared at it for a long moment, then replied with one line. I'll come, but I'm not bringing my checkbook. Sunday arrived. I walked into their Queen's apartment at exactly 2 p.m., wearing my sharpest work suit, armor for battle. The living room looked like an intervention set. Mom and Dad sat on the couch. Victoria perched in the armchair, eyes red and puffy. And to my surprise, there was Aunt Rachel and Uncle Tom, the reinforcements. Clara. Dad stood gesturing to an empty chair. Thank you for coming. I remained standing. What's this about? He pulled out a flip chart, an actual flip chart, with bullet points written in marker. Family Financial Strategy, 90-day transition plan. I almost laughed. Here's what we propose, Dad began, pointing at the chart like he was pitching to investors. You continue covering rent for 90 days while we transition. Victoria will actively seek full-time employment. I'll pick up additional contract work. Mom will start an Etsy shop. And after 90 days? I asked flatly. We reassess. Reassess meaning I keep paying indefinitely. Clara, be reasonable. Reasonable. I pulled out my phone. Let me show you what reasonable looks like. I connected my phone to their TV, something I could do because I'd set up their streaming services, which I also paid for. The screen filled with a spreadsheet I'd prepared. Foster Family Financial Analysis, 2022-2024. Every row represented a month. Every column showed what I'd paid. Rent, utilities, emergencies, loans, never repaid. The total at the bottom, $81,347. The room went completely silent. This, I said, my voice steady, is what reasonable has cost me. Now let me show you what it bought. I switched to a split screen. My bank statements on the left, Victoria's Instagram feed on the right. May 3, 2024. My transfer. $2,400 emergency dental work. Victoria's Instagram, photo of Gucci bag, caption treat yourself. March 15, 2024. My transfer. $3,200, 3 months advance rent. Victoria's Instagram, beach photos from Bahamas. Caption much needed getaway. April 22, 2024. My transfer. $850 car repairs. Victoria's Instagram, VIP table at club, bottle service. Caption, living my best life. Victoria's face drained of all color. Mom put her hand over her mouth. Victoria, I said, turning to my sister, would you like to explain to Uncle Tom and Aunt Rachel how you afforded a vacation to the Bahamas while I was covering your living expenses? She started crying, the manipulative kind she'd weaponized since childhood. You don't understand the pressure I was under. The pressure of choosing which brunch spot to Instagram? Uncle Tom cleared his throat uncomfortably. Clara, I think maybe... Maybe what, Uncle Tom? Maybe I should keep enabling this? Keep sacrificing my financial security so Victoria can post car blessed on social media? Dad stood up, his face reddening. That's enough. You will not speak to your sister. Then maybe my sister should stop stealing from me. My voice rose for the first time. She didn't just lie about emergencies. She committed identity fraud. She tried to open a credit card using my social security number. Aunt Rachel gasped. Victoria, you didn't... Victoria's tears intensified. I was desperate. Clara abandoned us. I didn't abandon you, I said coldly. I stopped bankrolling your luxury lifestyle. Mom finally spoke, her voice trembling. Clara, sweetheart, we're family. No, Mom. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't fake medical emergencies at 2 a.m. to manipulate money out of each other. I grabbed my bag and headed for the door. Wait! Victoria's voice cracked. Clara, please. They're going to evict us next week. We'll be homeless. I paused at the door, my hand on the knob. Then sell the Gucci bag, I said without turning around. Pawn the jewelry. Cancel the subscriptions. Do what millions of adults do every day. Figure it out. You're really going to let your parents end up on the street? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. I turned back one last time. No, Mom. You're going to let yourselves end up on the street if you don't start taking responsibility. I gave you 2 years and $81,000. What I won't give you is the rest of my life. I walked out, and this time I didn't look back. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Within hours, my phone exploded with messages from people I hadn't heard from in years, extended family members who suddenly had very strong opinions about my heartlessness. But something had shifted. Some people were on my side now. Cousin Maya. Clara, I'm so sorry I didn't see this earlier. What they did is unforgivable. Aunt Deborah, I told your mother years ago she was spoiling Victoria. I'm proud of you for standing up. Uncle Tom, for what it's worth, you did the right thing. Tough love is still love. But my parents? Still silent. Victoria, however, wouldn't stop. Week 3. The social media campaign Victoria went public. She posted on Instagram a long, emotional caption with a crying selfie. Sometimes the people you think will support you forever turn their backs when you need them most. My sister chose money over family. She's letting our parents face eviction while she lives comfortably in Manhattan. I'm heartbroken. Pray for us. Gerk family betrayal. Jasha money isn't everything. Within an hour, 347 likes, 92 comments. Most of them supported her. I'm so sorry, hun. Your sister sounds toxic. Family should come first. But then Cousin Maya commented, Victoria, why don't you tell them about the Gucci bag, or the Bahamas trip, or the identity fraud? Victoria deleted the comment, then blocked Maya. But the damage was done. Other relatives started asking questions in the comments. Then Maya did something brilliant. She screenshot Victoria's luxury Instagram posts and created a side-by-side comparison with dates I'd transferred money. She posted it as a response thread. Here's the full context everyone seems to be missing. The narrative shifted. Fast. People started deleting their supportive comments on Victoria's post. Some even commented, Wait, you were posting luxury purchases while your sister paid your rent? Victoria deleted the entire post within 2 hours. Week 4. The legal threat. I received a certified letter at my office from a lawyer. My heart sank as I opened it. Dear Ms. Foster, we represent Robert and Linda Foster regarding familial financial obligations. Our clients contend that verbal agreements were made regarding long-term financial support, constituting an implied contract. We request immediate reinstatement of monthly support payments pending mediation. I read it twice, then called my own lawyer, Sarah Chen, a colleague from Morrison & Chase who specialized in family law. She read it and laughed. Clara, this is a joke. They have no case. Implied contract for family gifts? Please, file this in the garbage. Should I respond? Let me handle it. Sarah sent a response letter that same day. Your clients have no legal standing. All payments were gifts, with no written agreement, no consideration, and no legal obligation. Furthermore, your client, Victoria Foster, is currently under investigation for identity theft against my client. Should your clients wish to pursue this matter, we will countersue for emotional distress, fraud, and defamation. We suggest this matter be dropped immediately. We never heard from that lawyer again. Week 5, the breakthrough at 11 p.m. on a Thursday, my phone rang. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Clara? It was Victoria. Her voice sounded different, smaller, exhausted. How did you get this number? Borrowed someone's phone. I know you blocked me. She paused. I'm not calling to ask for money. I waited. I got a job. Receptionist at a dental office. $16 an hour. It's not much, but it's honest. I said nothing. I also sold the Gucci bag. Got what $200 for it. Gave it to Mom and Dad for rent. Her voice cracked. You were right. About everything. I've been a parasite. I didn't realize it until you cut me off and I actually had to survive on my own. Victoria. No, let me finish. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I finally understand what you were trying to teach me. It's hard. Really hard. I had to move into a studio with 2 roommates. I take the subway now. I make my own coffee. And for the first time in my life, I'm not drowning in anxiety about where my next rent payment is coming from, because I'm earning it. I felt tears prickling my eyes. I'm proud of you. You are? Yes. That took courage. She was quiet for a moment. Mom and Dad are still struggling. Dad got a part-time job at Home Depot. Mom's selling crafts online. They're angry at you. But I think, deep down, they know you were right too. And you? Are you angry? I was. For weeks I hated you. I thought you were cruel. But now? She laughed bitterly. Now I realize you gave me the biggest gift you could. You forced me to grow up. We talked for another 20 minutes, the first real conversation we'd had in years. No manipulation, no guilt trips, just 2 sisters, finally honest with each other. Before we hung up, Victoria said, Clara, would you maybe want to get coffee sometime? My treat. And I mean that literally. I'll pay for my own coffee. I smiled. I'd like that. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment, looking out at the Manhattan skyline, and realized something profound. Boundaries weren't punishment. They were clarity. By refusing to enable them, I'd forced them to face reality. And for Victoria, at least, that reality had finally broken through. I didn't know if my parents would ever come around. Maybe they wouldn't. But for the first time, I was okay with that, because I'd learned the most important lesson of all. I wasn't responsible for their choices, only for my own. 6 months later, my life looked completely different. I was sitting in my new apartment in Brooklyn Heights. 1 bedroom, hardwood floors, a view of the Manhattan Bridge that made me catch my breath every morning. My apartment, my name on the lease, my money paying for it, no one else's. I just finished a Saturday morning yoga session when my phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. Hey, just got my first paycheck with a raise. 18 Deutsche now. Wanna grab coffee next week? Still my treat. I smiled and replied, Proud of you? Tuesday at 10? Perfect. See you then. We'd been meeting once a month for coffee. Neutral ground, clear boundaries. She paid for herself every time. We talked about work, books, life. Never about money, never about the past unless she brought it up. And slowly, carefully, we were rebuilding something. Not the old relationship, but a new one. Healthier. Honest. My parents were another story. Mom had sent a few emails over the months, short, tentative. Never an apology, but small olive branches. Saw this article about corporate law and thought of you. Hope you're doing well. I responded politely but distantly. I wasn't ready for more. Dad remained silent. His pride, I suspected, wouldn't let him admit he'd been wrong. And I'd learned I was okay with that too. I'd started therapy with Dr. Sarah Chen. she'd helped me understand something crucial. Clara, you spent so long being responsible for everyone else's emotions that you forgot you're allowed to have your own. That hit me like a revelation. For years, I'd believed that if I just worked hard enough, sacrificed enough, proved myself enough, my family would finally see my worth. But their inability to see it wasn't my failure. It was theirs. One evening, Cousin Maya invited me to her birthday dinner. "Small thing," she said. "Close friends, family. Victoria might be there. Just wanted you to know." I went. When I walked into the restaurant, Victoria was already there. She looked different. Hair in a simple ponytail, minimal makeup, wearing a clean button-up shirt from her receptionist job. No designer anything. Our eyes met. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey." We didn't hug, didn't make a scene, just coexisted. Throughout dinner, she talked about her work, the challenges of entry-level life at 32, how humbling it was to be the oldest person in her office training group. She laughed at herself. "Remember when I thought I was too good for a regular job? God, I was delusional." I didn't gloat, didn't say, "I told you so," just listened. At the end of the night, as people were leaving, Victoria pulled me aside. "Clara, I know we're taking this slow, but I want you to know I'm seeing a therapist too, working through a lot of things. And one thing she made me realize is that I turned you into my parent. I made you responsible for my life because it was easier than being responsible myself." My throat tightened. "I'm sorry," she continued, her voice thick with emotion. "Not just for the money, for treating you like you owed me something just because we're related. You didn't owe me anything, and you still don't." I pulled her into a hug, the first real one in years. "Thank you," I whispered. As I walked home that night, I thought about everything I'd lost and everything I'd gained. I'd lost the fantasy family I'd always wanted, the one where my parents loved me unconditionally, where my sister respected me, where sacrifice was appreciated instead of exploited. But I'd gained something more valuable: self-respect. I'd learned that boundaries aren't walls that keep love out. They're foundations that keep you standing. I'd learned that saying no isn't selfish. It's honest. I'd learned that the most loving thing you can do sometimes is refuse to enable someone's dysfunction and let them face the consequences of their choices. Standing at my window that night, looking out at the glittering lights of Manhattan, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: peace. Not the fragile kind that shatters at the first sign of conflict, the solid kind, built on truth. I opened my journal, something Dr. Chen had encouraged, and wrote, "You're not responsible for other people's bad decisions. You're not cruel for protecting yourself. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for them, is to stop saving them and let them learn to save themselves." I closed the journal, turned off the lights, and went to bed. And for the first time in 28 years, I slept deeply, peacefully, without guilt. Because I'd finally learned the hardest lesson of all: you can love your family from a distance, and that distance isn't abandonment, it's survival.